You're not lazy. And no, this isn't just getting older. If you're over 60 and constantly tired, even after a full night's sleep, there's a deeper reason. Doctors specializing in geriatric medicine across Canada have warned a vitamin B12 deficiency is silently draining the energy of thousands of seniors every day, and most have no idea. Unlike many nutrients, B12 requires a fully functioning digestive system to be absorbed properly. But after 60, your ability to absorb B12 from food drops dramatically, even if you're eating well. The result? Chronic fatigue, brain fog, dizziness, irregular heartbeat, and a slow, quiet loss of vitality, like something inside you is dimming. If you've ever felt that way, leave a comment below. You are far from alone. But here's what makes this especially dangerous. By the time most seniors realize something is wrong, the deficiency has often been going on for years. You might have gone to the doctor for fatigue, maybe even asked about your thyroid or your heart. But unless they specifically tested for vitamin B12, which isn't always part of routine blood work, it likely wasn't flagged. And the symptoms don't come all at once. They creep in. First, you're just a little slower getting out of bed. Then you notice you're forgetting where you put things or feeling off balance more than usual. Maybe your legs start tingling at night, and before you know it, you've adjusted your entire life to this new, lower level of energy, never suspecting that something as basic as a nutrient could be the root cause. So why is vitamin B12 such a common deficiency after 60? The answer lies in how our body changes with age. As we grow older, the stomach begins to produce less hydrochloric acid, a key substance required to extract B12 from the protein in our food. Without enough acid, even if you eat meat, eggs, or dairy regularly, your body can't release or absorb the B12 properly. According to research from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, up to 20% of adults over 60 have a B12 deficiency, and many more live with borderline levels that still cause fatigue, mood changes, and nerve damage. And it gets worse for those on certain medications. These drugs, commonly prescribed for chronic conditions like diabetes or reflux, interfere with B12 absorption. So now we're looking at a double impact. Your aging stomach absorbs less B12, and the medications you take further block what's left. This isn't just theoretical. I remember a 68-year-old woman I met at a community health seminar in Halifax. She told me she had started falling asleep during her knitting group, nodding off during conversations, missing parts of phone calls. Her family thought it was early signs of dementia, but a sharp nurse practitioner ordered a specific blood test and found her B12 was critically low. After a few weeks of supplementation, her clarity returned, her energy lifted, and her daughter told me, it's like she came back to life. It wasn't magic, it was just overlooked biology. Sometimes the biggest changes don't begin in a hospital. They begin in a quiet kitchen with someone holding a cup of tea, wondering why everything suddenly feels harder than it used to be. I remember Gerald, a retired woodworker from Thunder Bay. He used to spend hours in his shed carving toys for his grandkids, rocking horses, wooden puzzles, even little boats. But when I met him at a senior wellness talk, he sighed and said, I don't have the juice anymore. He wasn't in pain, he wasn't sick, but he was tired, all the time. And like many people his age, he assumed it was just a part of getting older. We sat down and looked at his routine. He wasn't sedentary, he wasn't living on junk food. In fact, he ate mostly home-cooked meals, stayed relatively active, and wasn't diabetic. But then we noticed something else. He had been taking acid reflux medication every day for almost 10 years. It wasn't until a new doctor reviewed his long-term medications that something clicked. She paused, looked at his file, and asked him a simple question. Has anyone ever checked your vitamin B12 levels? They hadn't, not once. This is what makes vitamin B12 deficiency so insidious. It doesn't come with a loud alarm. It doesn't cause searing pain or dramatic symptoms, at least not at first. Instead, it slips in quietly, and most people mistake it for just aging. But the science tells a different story. Vitamin B12 is essential for nerve health, red blood cell formation, and energy metabolism. When your body doesn't get enough or can't absorb what you eat, you begin to slow down in ways that are easy to ignore until they're impossible to reverse. One of the key reasons B12 deficiency is so common after age 60 is because of a decline in hydrochloric acid production in the stomach. This acid is what helps release B12 from protein in food. Without it, B12 passes right through the digestive tract, untouched, unabsorbed. And if you're taking medications like proton pump inhibitors, such as omeprazole or pantoprazole, metformin, or certain blood pressure drugs, the risk goes up even more. These medications further block the body's ability to absorb B12, especially over time. According to research published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, nearly 1 in 5 adults over 60 are B12 deficient, and many more are hovering just above the threshold, still experiencing symptoms. But symptoms vary, and that's what makes it tricky. Some people feel exhausted, others feel lightheaded or notice memory lapses. Some feel tingling in their hands and feet, a sign of peripheral nerve involvement, which is directly tied to prolonged B12 deficiency. And in some cases, people experience low mood or even depressive symptoms because B12 plays a role in neurotransmitter function too. But sometimes healing begins with a question. I remember Marie, a 70-year-old retired nurse in Victoria. She had always been the strong one, caring for patients, for her late husband, for her children. But in recent years, she said something had shifted. I feel like I'm living at half my size, she told me, like I've been unplugged. She had no appetite for the things she once loved: gardening, baking, evening walks. Her daughter noticed her slowing down and gently pushed her to get checked. Marie's doctor listened and ran a full panel, including a vitamin B12 test. Her levels were low. Not dangerously low, but enough to make her body work harder than it should, just to get through the day. They started her on methylcobalamin, a sublingual form of B12 that dissolves under the tongue and bypasses the digestive tract, a key strategy for older adults with reduced absorption. Within 3 weeks, she was waking up with more clarity. She called her daughter and said, "I think I've turned a corner." These aren't rare stories. They're quietly common. But because fatigue, forgetfulness, and low mood are all considered normal aging, B12 deficiency often goes uninvestigated. The tragedy is, it's preventable, testable, and in many cases, entirely reversible. That's what makes this so urgent. Have you ever walked into a room and forgotten why you went in there more than once? Have you felt like you were slowly fading out of your own routine? Not depressed exactly, but not fully present either? These moments matter. They're your body's quiet way of saying, I need help. I'm missing something. Please listen. And sometimes it's not about willpower, attitude, or age. Sometimes it's simply about a vitamin your body can no longer get on its own. There's a quiet kind of grief that comes with aging, not just for the people we've lost or the roles we've stepped away from, but for the energy we once had, the sharpness, the ability to move through a day without needing to lie down halfway through. Most people don't talk about it because there's this unspoken pressure, especially after 60, to just accept it, to nod politely when someone says, that's just what getting old feels like. But what if that's not the full truth? I remember a man named David, 75, widowed, living alone in rural Manitoba. He'd stopped going to church, stopped volunteering. He said, I just don't have it in me anymore. But it wasn't sadness. It wasn't depression. It was something else. He described it as dimming, like he was still in the room, but the lights had gone low. When he finally spoke to his nurse practitioner, she asked about his diet, his sleep, his medications. Then she ordered blood work. And yes, B12 was low, not dangerously low, but enough to explain the fatigue, the fog, the strange moments of forgetting simple things. He started on injections, and within a month, something shifted. He didn't become a different man. He didn't become 40 again. But he began showing up to the little things. Sunday coffee, morning paper, a phone call with his niece. He told me something I'll never forget. He said, I thought my life was winding down. Turns out I was just running on empty. That moment, that sentence, stayed with me. Because how many people are out there right now believing that their time is simply fading, when in reality, their body is still capable of healing? Healing doesn't always look like a miracle. Sometimes it looks like being able to read a book without losing focus. Sometimes it's having the strength to visit your grandchild, to finish a puzzle, to remember the name of your first teacher. Small things, but they make a life feel whole again. You see, the danger of a deficiency isn't just physical, it's emotional. It makes people question themselves. It slowly steals their sense of control. And the cruelest part, most of the time, no one even tells them there's something they can do. But you deserve to know. You deserve clarity, strength, and the chance to feel like you again. Not because you're trying to turn back the clock, but because this next chapter of your life still matters. You still matter. I know this hasn't been an easy conversation, because admitting we feel tired, really tired, isn't just about the body. Sometimes it feels like admitting defeat. But the truth is, feeling low on energy doesn't mean you've failed. It doesn't mean you're broken. It means your body is asking for something. And the most loving thing we can do is listen. So maybe after this video, you'll look back on the last few months a little differently. Maybe that unexplained fatigue or forgetfulness or that strange buzzing in your feet, maybe it wasn't just getting old. Maybe it was your body giving you clues. And the beautiful part, it's not too late. Not for clarity, not for strength, not for energy. Even after 60, even after 70, your body still wants to heal. All it needs is to be heard. If this resonated with you, even just a little, I'd love to hear your story. Have you ever experienced unexplained exhaustion, foggy thinking, or felt like something was off, even when tests said you were fine? Please share it in the comments. There's a quiet comfort in realizing you're not the only one. Sometimes your words might be exactly what someone else needed to hear. And if something in today's video gave you a little clarity, a little hope, maybe consider joining us here on Elderly Seasons. We talk about things that matter to people who matter, like you.